All right, Stoney, how do they handle it? There's no clear timeline. Skubal's pitching out of his mind. Is he part of the long-term future? Does he fit this timeline that doesn't yet exist? How would you handle it?
Well, that's the problem. We don't know what the timeline is. To me, the timeline for them to be really good is probably, you would expect it to be 3 years. By that time, you would think Clark and McGonigal and these guys are going to be on the team. Keith's going to be good. Green hopefully will be good. Torque we've already talked about. That might be a lost cause. So and I assume that they'll spend a little bit more. So if you believe that they are 4 to 5 years away from being really, really good, then I think you have to trade them. Or at least entertain the trade. I'm not saying giving them away at all. No, we talked about the Orioles and Holiday and as being the guy you have to take in a trade before you even discuss it. Look, ideally, what you do, he's got 2 years left before he becomes an unrestricted free agent at the age of 30, 31 going into that season. We know pitchers and injuries and things like that. So now, or at the end of this season, is where the value is the best. And if you can get really good return, then you make the trade. Ideally, optimally, you extend them for, 4 to 6 years. So that way he becomes a free agent again at age like 33, 34, maybe 35, and he gets one more shot at the can. That's what I would do. I would try to extend them. But there's a inherent risk there. I'm not letting him go to free agency. I'm not doing Max Scherzer and Ndamukong Suh. No effing way. I'm trying to figure it out. And I got to figure it out by this offseason. Because if I don't know what I'm doing, then I'm trading them. You have to go to Scott Boras, go to Skubal and say, here's the deal. We're going to give you more than what you would get for arbitration for the next 2 years, substantially more. Now, you might make less down the road if you go to free agency and you continue to excel. But then again, you could get hurt. You could do this. You could do that. You could, that's the way baseball is. Take it now, and I'd be very happy with that.
I'm not making fun of you. I feel like you dipped a toe in each of the answers there.
Yes.
Because it is a complicated situation.
It's true.
Let me be very clear. The answer is to pay your homegrown superstar.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's what I mean.
The answer is you bow up as an ownership group and a front office, and you pay your homegrown star who is at the top of the sport. And then...
But you have to do it now.
Right. You pay your homegrown star, and then you pay other people around him. You invest in the ball club right now. You're roughly a 500 team. Imagine how good you'd be if you added other good players to this ball club. Like the idea that I had 3 or 4 years is when they're going to win, I reject it. If it's going to take you 3 or 4 years to field a good team, resign. Let someone else step in who's more interested in turning this thing around in a timely manner. The answer is to field a real payroll where you pay Skubal and other bats and other arms, and eventually you build to where you're a top 10 payroll. You're not the Dodgers, the Mets, or the Yankees, but you field to the level that you can win a World Series. That's what you're building towards, and Skubal is part of that. I mean, if he's not part of it, what's the point? You find a guy, you develop him, he's a star, and you got to trade him for lottery tickets?
No.
I got to trade him for Franklin Perez, Jake Rogers.
No.
And so I don't want to do that. So this is the answer. Waving the white flag would be a sad commentary on the state of the organization if you can't keep Tarik Skubal. Now, the only caveat is if you get a king's ransom.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
The only caveat would be Baltimore says, we want to win a World Series right now. We're willing to empty out our farm system, give you the best hitting prospect in all of baseball, someone who can play up the middle defensively and hit MLB bloodline pedigree. We're talking Holiday. If you were to give me multiple young bats who would be controllable, including at least one can't-miss guy, guys who play every day, fine. Starting pitching is not as valuable as it once was. But my preference and the right answer is to run a real baseball team and pay your really good players and not have that be restrictive.
Of course.
Because the worst thing would be they pay Skubal and go, that's our investment. No. You're going to pay Skubal, and then you're going to hand another $20 million to a proven bat, and then you're going to hand another. My point is you're going to be a real baseball team.
Yes, I mean, optimally, you sign Skubal, you go, get Juan Soto too.
None of this 3 or 4 year nonsense.
But that ain't going to happen.
But okay, but that's how we come full circle, because if they are looking at the 3 or 4 years,
right,
then you're going to drag me to the Valenti and Rieger camp where you do have to trade them. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they are brazenly, hey, we're not a year or two away, but we're 3 or 4 years away. If our window is McGonigal and Max Clark, well, then Skubal doesn't even fit a little bit, and then you are in a position where you have to trade.
That was my point. If they what they look at the window is.
Yeah.
If they look at the window as being 3 years from now, then you have to trade them.
But it shouldn't be 3 years.
I know, but that wasn't the option.
I know. The option wasn't you get to come in with a sledgehammer and fix everything.
Correct.
You have to work with what we're working with.
Right.
I'm not heavy, like, all in on trading Skubal, but if I had to, you make this choice here, I would trade him. I don't think his value will ever be higher. I think it's Michael Fulmer all over again. Not saying that Skubal will get hurt, but there is that whole belief that if you've had Tommy John, you're gonna that like 8 years ago that you're gonna need Tommy John again potentially. His sample size of dominance is very small. That's where it's like Fulmer. Fulmer was a rookie of the year, remember?
Yeah, but he wasn't as good as this kid is.
I don't know, man. There were times,
not.
Stoney, we went to a game where Fulmer was no-hitting somebody, I remember.
Yeah, I know, but he
might have been Texas.
The amount of time, though, I mean, this is over 2 seasons.
Stoney, this started the second half of last season.
Oh, I know.
It's a full season.
That's what I'm saying. This is over.
Fulmer
over 2
did a
seasons.
season and a half before they started to have.
But Fulmer had major injuries too, before. That's why they were even able to get him. And what was it? They traded what was Cespedes, right? And they got him for the Mets. I think that was. Yeah.
No, but the belief for trading Fulmer at his peak, they should have. The belief was that they could have got 4 prospects for him. I remember that.
Allegedly, yes.
And I said at the time I wanted them to go to the Yankees and say we want Torres. And if they said no, they say no. And that's what you have to do now with the Orioles. You go and I would right now. I'd call up the Orioles and say you want to make a trade. All right, we want Holiday and we want your second prospect, Basallo,
The catcher, first baseman.
Yes. And then you are somewhat priming the pump that if Torque busts, you might have an option. And they will say no. They will say no to that right now. I know it's I'm asking for your top 2 prospects. Well, you're getting arguably a Cy Young winner.
You want to go win the World Series?
You want to play?
Yeah.
Let's play.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think the decision that you have to make here is you don't budge unless you're getting Kyle Tucker. Right? That was the Verlander thing. You go by, we're not doing it without Tucker. We can keep JV. Or in this case, you can keep Skubal. But you can only do it if you're actually committed to paying him and others around him, which is a question of ownership. And the way you do it, I think Stoney laid out the perfect blueprint. If you are team pay Skubal, I think you do it at the end of this season, assuming he's clean bill of health, 2 years of arbitration control, and you use it as leverage. You go, Skubal, we know that you're at risk of an arm event. You're a power arm. You're going to be 8 years removed from Tommy John. I want to offer you a 9-figure, life-changing contract. Could be 6, 7, whatever many years. We want to start it now. We don't want to make you wait 2 years for the life-changing money. We're going to get it done now. I don't want you to fall into the camp of other Boris clients who were promised the sun, the moon, and the stars and had to settle before spring training.
Right.
I want to get you paid on a 9-figure deal right now in a way Blake Snell didn't. I want to get you paid today. And this is, again, at the end of the season, clean bill of health. You lock in a lower AAV, lower salary per year. You get it done, and you keep spending money. That's my preference. If they're not willing to do it, then we get into the darker conversation, which is we don't get to keep our good players. We're the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're the Tampa Bay Rays. We're the Oakland A's. That's what I don't want to be. I don't want this to be we have to trade Skubal. I don't want that to be where we're at.
You would make the deal I just said, right?
Well, again, if King's ransom.
Yes. And so what's the problem with stirring up the conversation?
Nothing.
I'd love for it to get out there in the media that the Tigers propose something like this.